OK, bore da pawb, mae'n gret i bod yma heddi. Diolch am y pleser i dod i siarad efo chi gyd heddi. Enw i dwi Ffion Langford, a dwi wedi dod o'r Cymdeithas Cyrraedd Fforol. Don't panic, I'm not going to do my entire talk in Welsh, although I really had seriously thought about it, just to scare you and keep you on your toes. So my name's Ffion Langford, my pronouns are she, her. I'm the Hiraeth yn y Môr Project Legacy Lead, which is based at the Marine Conservation Society. And today I'm going to be talking to you all about equitably reconnecting people to our ocean. So the project itself is delivered by the Marine Conservation Society, which I'm sure many of you might be familiar with us. But for those of you who are not, we're a national UK ENGO operating far and wide with a mission to ensure that we achieve seas full of life when nature flourishes and people thrive. So if you'd like to find out more about our work, then come find me afterwards. So Hiraeth yn y Môr, what is it all about? Well, maybe for the few of the people in this room and online that don't speak Welsh, I should start with a title. What does it mean? So Hiraeth yn y Môr essentially translates to longing for the sea, longing in the sea. And it's been so heartening to hear people already cover over the past couple of days that the important sense of belonging, sense of identity, and actually in a word, that's what Hiraeth means. And in fact, there's no direct translation in English for the word Hiraeth. Very much about a sense of feeling, and as Giles was talking about earlier, that emotional, that deeper connection that we have with our ocean and coastal space. So what is the aim of the Hiraeth yn y Môr project? So our aim is to grow ocean literacy as a means of supporting the sustainable management of Liverpool Bay SBA, which is our adjacent marine protected area site that we have by the project. And we're based up in a tiny area of northeast Wales, specifically working with and alongside the coastal communities of Tywyn, Kinmore Bay, Rhyl and Prestatyn, which is a massively overlooked and underinvested area of our coastline in the UK. So we've been running the project as part of the Nature Networks 2 Fund, with very generous funding from the National Lottery Heritage Fund on behalf of Welsh Government, so thank you very much for that. The project has been running for 2 years and is sadly coming to an end at the end of March. So I thought really long and hard about how I wanted to best use this really valuable 10 minutes that I have with you today. And I promise I had a really good plan until the end of yesterday, when I had completely not expected the emphasis that would be placed on collaboration, partnership, regenerative governance, procedural justice. And so actually, I ended yesterday feeling quite alarmed because I was thinking, oh my God, what am I going to say now? So last night, I completely decided to change what I was going to talk about. So let's see how this goes, shall we? So rather than talking about what it is that we've done, what it is that we need to do, which, yes, is important, I'm actually going to be focusing on giving you some really simple headline ideas on how we can do it, how we can build really equitable partnerships and conservation projects which are very meaningful and place-based. So first up, we have the model, a project model. Of course, really simple. And this is what the Hiraeth yn y Môr project adopted. So right at the centre, we have 4 overlinking core components. Firstly, we have community. Hiraeth yn y Môr is all about being community-led. And for us, we didn't have a specific target audience. We wanted to be as inclusive as possible. We wanted to get everybody and anybody involved in the work that we were doing. So we established a variety of community mechanisms to establish that have been extremely effective, although I don't want you to take my word for that. I want you to take the word of Nat, who is, where are you, Nat? She's sitting in the audience, she's right at the back. So Nat is one of our community leaders who has been involved in the project since the start, and she's been very kind enough to come on down from our project area to join us today. So if you're interested in hearing firsthand from one of our community members, I really encourage you to go and find Nat afterwards. So that element of bringing our community together was critical for us. In terms of how that might apply to you, you perhaps have a more targeted audience, maybe a specific user group or stakeholder group. The same thing applies. Creating those community-led mechanisms is going to be critical for the sustainability of your work. Next, we have social science. And again, amazing to not be the first person on this stage to mention social science at this conference. I think that's just absolutely transformational and such an indicator of where we're at and where we're going in terms of the sector more broadly. But social science is really, really critical in understanding and measuring impact. So for us as a project, that involves specifically growth in ocean literacy, but it also might apply to you in terms of behavioural change and that bringing you that step closer to understanding how decisions are made and the decisions that will likely be made in the future. Alongside social science, we have other sciences, or actually rather, it could be other disciplines, in fact, such as economics, like Mel touched upon earlier. So for us, as an ENGO working with communities, we were primarily interested in creating participatory opportunities. So for us, our other science were citizen science pathways, but again, for you, that might be an area of science which might be more specialist. And then, of course, we have policy and practice. Now, we often think that place-based, community-led projects have no role in national strategic policy-related work and development, and that's not the case. So we've been really, really active as part of the Wales Coast and Seas Partnership to establish that strategy and to ensure that that national strategy stands true on the ground with diverse communities. All of the work that we do is underpinned by equity, diversity, and inclusion. Hopefully I don't need to say it again, but I will do just to drive the message home. We are the second least diverse sector, and I don't know about you, I'm really embarrassed about that. So we have a really long way to go in terms of improving our own best practice, being able to learn from others outside of our sector where they're doing it well, and then sharing that back in-house within the community that we have. So everything about this model is all about give and take. We have a tradition of being very, very extractive, not just in the literal sense in terms of how we engage with our marine and coastal environment, but in the social sense in terms of how we engage with people and our expectation for them to give us all the information we need with nothing in return. So just being really mindful of that. The structure, a project structure. So the structure essentially determines whether you're going to live true by your model and the components that you've set out, or whether you're going to render that model completely useless. So this is an example of how the Hiraeth and Amor project kind of really brought our model to life. Building local relationships, we committed 3 months at the start of the project to just speak to people. And without that, I'm sure I'd be standing here telling a very different story. We've got our One Ocean Forum, of which Nat is a member, so please find her afterwards. Our Ocean Connection Programme, which is our access to opportunity, that is our provision of opportunity and equal access. Researching ocean literacy, so operationalising how we can measure a growth in ocean literacy and what that means in a policy context, in a practical context, and tackling barriers to our participation as well through our Enabling Fund. The methods, I'm not going to go through these because I am unbelievably nearly out of time. So we've got measuring growth in ocean literacy, lots of great qualitative and quantitative methods you can adopt, primarily through social science. But also responsible conservation. You know, we love to talk the talk in this room, don't we? But actually, how many of us walk the walk? So really thinking about when we're out conducting projects, how are you getting to and from your project area? Are you measuring tire particle release from the journeys you're taking? Are you measuring carbon emissions saved by taking the train to and from the project? Are you investing in local goods and services to economically benefit where you're conducting your work? These are all the things that we need to be thinking a lot more about. Organisational join-up. How cohesive and joined up is your work within your organisational setting? So we've been doing a lot of work around that as well. Okay, so you might now be thinking like, oh, Ffion, yeah, that all sounds great, but like, how is it going? So I thought I would just chuck up some of our results from the project to just be a bit of an indicator. So mobilising pro-ocean behaviours. The pink bars indicate where people were at in terms of whether they had undertaken that pro-ocean behaviour before participating in our Ocean Connection programme. And the blue bar afterwards indicates their commitment to undertaking that behaviour over the next 12 months. So we can see a real visible mobilisation and appetite for people to undertake more pro-ocean behaviours going forwards after taking part. Ground truthing national data set. So Emma wonderfully already talked about the national assessments that we've done on ocean literacy. This summarises how important it is to ground truth all of your national work in place-based contexts. So for example, I'm just focusing on the one in the middle, Renewable energy is one of the most important benefits that society gains from the marine environment. 31% of people said that nationally, but in our project area, that rose to nearly 50%. Not a surprise when you look offshore at Rail and you have multiple wind farms visible to the eye. Barriers, we've done a lot of work on understanding values and barriers. I'm mindful of time, so I'm going to quickly kind of wrap up. Key barriers, essentially, people being too busy, people having caring responsibilities, being too far away from people live. And my favourite quote from the project, "My parents are busy and I am small." Okay, so let's just really resonate in that for a moment. Okay, so my final comment, I think really thinking about the theme of this conference and what's brought us all together, we're not going to achieve our 2030 targets or, in fact, sustainable conservation outcomes in general without revolutionising how we work and how we speak with people. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you for your time. Please do connect with us. The project is running until the end of March, so it'd be great to share our learnings, methodologies with you, and hopefully carry some of this learning forward. Diolch yn fawr.